having a tough time sleeping or getting to sleep? Have you been experiencing those nights when no matter how many sheep you count, sleep just won't come? How about not being able to shut out the events of the day and turn off all that residual noise? I've been there far too many times. And that's where we find David in Psalm 4. But he isn't worried. Let's see why. Hi, I'm Pastor Tom, and I want to share something God showed me some time ago when I was suffering through one of those sleepless nights, one after the other. He took me back to a time when David was suffering the same thing, and he revealed to me his recipe for sleep. Psalm 4:1. Answer me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have given me relief when I was in distress. Be gracious to me and hear my prayer. David knew that no matter what situation he found himself in, or what circumstances surrounded him, his first action was to call out to God. Answer me when I call. And you translate that as respond to me, make a reply. It's important to note that we cannot expect God to answer if we first don't call out to him. And David was specific in who he wanted to respond, the God of his righteousness. The word righteousness implies relationship. God is righteous in that he keeps his covenant with his people. He fulfills all his promises. And we can call out in the same way because Jesus has completely fulfilled the law in perfect obedience to the Father. And I don't think there's anyone who's put this in better perspective than Paul. 2 Corinthians 5:21. For our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. David reminded God that he had delivered him many times in the past, and he knew that God was able to deliver him again. Now, God hears us when we call out because, as his son's bride, we're covered in his righteousness. Like David, we know we can depend upon him to provide relief in our situation, just like he's done in the past, time and time again. And that's why Satan makes every attempt to cloud our memories with our current problems. Psalm 4:3. But know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him. David's response is immediate. But no, he knows that he's been set apart from those who love and idolize the world. He belongs to God, and that alone means that he can address him in being confident that he will be heard. And that leads him to the key ingredients of his recipe. Psalm 4:4. Be angry and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts, on your own beds, and be silent. Shelah. Pause and meditate on that. There is nothing that will rob you of peaceful sleep faster than anger. Holding that anger in and not dealing with it is as detrimental as lashing out against it. We need to express it to the Lord, but when we do, we need to let it go. We need to be silent. Sleep on it. Paul said the same thing in his letter to the church at Ephesus, Ephesians 4:26 and 27. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil. As important as it is to address our anger, we can't hang on to it, because in doing so we give the enemy an opening. If we give him an inch, we can expect that he'll take that proverbial mile. And in the process, we pay the price, a sleepless night. Now, David tells us to leave the cares of this world to God and meditate on him. And to meditate is the verb amar, which means to consider or to reflect. We need to think very carefully about how we handle our anger. If we don't, that anger will move to front and center, and the enemy will run with it. Now, once we've released it, the next step is to turn away from it. Be silent. Be still and listen to what the Lord has to say. He will show us a pathway through our anger that will bring us out the other side into his perfect peace. We need to listen for that still small voice that can so easily be overridden by our emotions. And when we have his peace, the next step is to trust him as David did. Psalm 4:5. Offer right sacrifices and put your trust in the Lord. Now, the King James Version says, offer the sacrifices of righteousness. Offer in Hebrew is the word for ritual sacrifice of an animal. Well, we need to sacrifice our anger and do it with joy. We have his word that he'll hear our prayer and he'll answer us. Then we can lock away that anger with our praise and worship, rejoicing in his promises. So, there we have it, a perfect recipe for a good night's sleep. Maybe it's not anger. Perhaps it's fear or worry. Perhaps it's an answer you need for a decision that's facing you and you're being pressed by it. It really doesn't matter. The recipe works just the same. Just take 1 cup of what's on your mind, release it to the Lord, and silently stir the issue until he's brought forth his peace. Then cover the whole matter with praise and worship for his faithfulness. And what did David get? Psalm 4:8. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. David received the peace he needed out of the assurance that God heard his prayer. But there was still something David needed to do. He needed to lie down. Now that means letting it all go and trusting God. And to seal that action, he had to surrender himself to sleep, the sleep that could only come because he dwelled in God's security. But Tom, there really isn't anything on my mind. I'm not angry or in fear. I just can't sleep. Well, that might not be true. It's pretty hard to lie in bed without sleeping and have a completely empty mind. Let me pass along a practical lesson the Lord taught me a long time ago. Ask yourself this simple question. What am I focused on before I turn out the light? Now, if the answer isn't the Word of God, then you've got a problem. Today's evening news is certain to set your subconscious into a tailspin. What movie did you just watch? What TV program? Or what book did you just put down? Have you had a disagreement with someone? We can't afford to take any of that to bed with us. Without exception, our mind is going to feed on the last food we give it. Now, I can guarantee you that if you'll make the conscious effort to let the end of your day be the same as your beginning, assuming God is first on your list in the morning, you'll be able to let the cares of this life slip aside and take hold of his peace. Our problem is that it's just too easy to end the day with the same routine and just turn out the light and roll over. The results are always the same. As my days, if I don't start them in its present, I'm confused and jumbled without peace and tossing and turning. Think that isn't true? Tonight, right before you go to bed, listen to some song 3 times, preferably one you've never heard before. Turn out the light and go to sleep. Then tell me what comes to your mind first thing in the morning and is there intermittently all day long. It works. So our challenge this week is to take God's recipe for sleep to heart and use it. There's no sleeping pill that can match casting your cares at Jesus' feet. It's only his peace that can put our mind at rest, the rest that brings the sweet sleep. Now I've put a couple of links to my newest books down below. The first is a free ebook entitled The Path to Spiritual Maturity. That takes a look at God's plan that he has for us to complete our journey. The second is available on Amazon, and it's entitled You're In, But Are You Of? I take a good look at the dangers of false teaching that are too frequently becoming an issue for the church. Now, thanks once again for joining me, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and join me here every Wednesday. And you can help me get the message out to the bride by hitting the button and sharing. Now, if you're not a believer in Jesus and don't know who the bride of Christ is, I invite you to click on the link to Come and Believe, and you'll find the page on our website, that little page right over there. And it will tell you the amazing story behind Walk with God's logo. So until we meet again here next Wednesday, have an awesome week in Jesus, and I'll see you on Wednesday. God bless.